All are doing well. Today I was thinking I could make a small video explaining a side project that I've been working on for a long time. It's called Envase. So if you work on any kind of front end or back end, I think this is gonna make your life a lot easier. It utilizes Docker under the hood. If you don't know what Docker is, Docker is kind of a secure sandbox where you can run almost any app, and it requires almost no setup to run the app. So I know like right now it might sound kind of a black box, but we will see what it actually means soon with a small demo. So to try out Envase, first you need to install Docker. So you can go to the official website, download the executable and install it. And then you need to start Docker. Depending on your platform, it may vary. For Mac I can start it from the Spotlight. For Windows you might need to start it from the start menu or whatever it needs to be done to start the Docker service. So let Docker start. Meanwhile, you can head over to the Envase GitHub repo. Then you can go to the releases section. The website for this is coming very soon. It's currently in beta, and you can download the bundle for your specific platform. For Mac, you guys would download DMG. For Linux distribution, I think there is an app version, and there is also an exe for Windows version. So yep. So make sure that your Docker service is running and Docker has all required privileges. And then after you have downloaded and installed Envase, you can find it in your application section. So in Mac I can find it in the Spotlight search. So once you start Envase, it would look something similar to this. It's kind of an app store where you can install any application you want without any hassle. So to show you the power of Envase, I have a sample application ready for you. So let me head over to a project that I have. I have a sample 2 application. Okay, I'm not able to find. Okay, so I will probably add the one. Go c/open to do. Let me open that up in VS Code. It's a simple Golang web server which connects to Postgres to save and retrieve to-dos. As simple as that. So we are gonna try to run this project. So to run this project, I'm gonna need a Postgres database, and then this particular web server is gonna connect to that Postgres database to to store and retrieve to-dos. So that's it. That's the whole idea, right? So now first of all I would need obviously a Postgres database. So what I'm gonna do is I can go to Postgres official website, download their executable, install it, and go through all those headache. Sometimes Postgres may not even install properly on your machine, and you need to break your head why it's not happening in your machine. But in Envase, there's no need for you to care about it. You just go ahead and it just works. So I can go to the search and search Postgres. There is Postgres already there. So I'm going to click on create, and I'm going to give a name for my Postgres database. We'll call it as my Postgres. And then the port on which Postgres should run, I'm gonna keep it as the default one, which is 5432, and the default Postgres username I'm gonna call it as Postgres, and simple password for this I'm gonna keep the password as test. And then the folder where you want Postgres to store all its data. It's kind of optional though. We'll come to this a little bit later. Then the version of Postgres that you want to install. So I want 9.6.20, but you can always click on this handy link and go over to Docker Hub to see all available images that you can run, right? So for time being, let me choose something like maybe 9.5. It should work. So Let's click on create. So now what it's gonna do is that behind the scenes it's gonna go over to Docker Hub, pull the Docker image for us, and voila, it's done. Now if we head over to my apps, you can see a Postgres instance or a Postgres app created for us. So behind the scene what it did is that it just pulled the image from Docker Hub, created a container for us. Now let's just start this container, start this particular app from Envase. So while the app starts, you have some handy options to have a look at what are the logs that the particular container has or particular app has by clicking on show logs. Now it's going to give you information on whether the the Postgres server has started or whether any errors. But from the logs, I can say that the database system is up and running. Cool. So now we have Postgres database already running without doing anything. I didn't even leave Envase. I just went over to my app store, looked for Postgres and installed it. Right. Now next what I need is a Go environment where I can run my application. So usually setting up a language tool like Golang or Node.js is usually go to their website, download it and install it, and you need to follow some specific instruction and things like that. But here what you do is just find your language you want. I'm gonna go for Golang, and then I'm gonna give this, maybe I'm gonna call it as open to do. I'm gonna use it for that. Now I'm gonna choose my projects folder. I'm gonna here actually choose the Go path, or the path where actually Go applications are stored. So I'm gonna choose it actually in my document projects, and then Go. I'm gonna open that, and then the version. So here I'm gonna use a particular version called Alpine 3.12, but feel free to choose whatever version fits you by using this handy link. And then in the advanced section, when this container runs, I want like the port 8000 to be exposed. So what I need to do is just give that I want the 8000 port of this container to be accessible from the outside world. So I'm going to just give 8000 port. Cool. So if you need more ports, you can just keep on adding it. I'm planning to add some default ports right away from here, so that's still in process. So let me click on create. So it has quickly gone over to Docker Hub, pulled the Golang image, and it's ready for me in the my app section. I can click on play, and it's gonna pull over a terminal for me. So this terminal is actually running inside the container, and it's not in my local machine, and it already has Go doing it. So I can show you by running Go env. So Golang is already there. And the best part is that all of my projects should be now in the Go path. I have the open to do application right over here. So the best part is that if I edit any of my files, if locally, it's going to reflect here too. So I can show you that like by going into the open to do. Let me just get a file over here called .env. So the .env is the file that stores all the information on what database to connect, what is the database password, what is the database username, things like that. So let me go over to my VS Code. So in VS Code also have a file called .env. Let's say I just change the DB password to something like that and save it in my local machine. Now if I again cat it, you can see that it got updated inside my container. So already you can see how easy it is to use Envase to do development using Docker, right? Now let me try to run this application. So for that I need to first update the details on what is my Postgres database, what is its username and password. So the rule over here when you use Envase is that when you want to connect to an external service or a database, you use the application name as its address or the host. So for example, if I want to connect to a database running in Envase by the name my Postgres, I would give the DB host as my Postgres. So now Docker would take the heavy lifting of connecting my application which is running inside this container to connect to the Postgres container over here. So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna say DB host is my Postgres. My web server is gonna run in 8000 port, which is fine. The DB user is gonna be Postgres, and the password is gonna be what I set while I set up my Postgres database, which is test. I'm gonna disable SSL in development, so that should be fine. So now let me go back to the terminal that Envase gave us. Now first thing I would do is that test the DB connection, if it's working or not, things like that. So for that, let me run my application. I can do that by go run the main file, main.go. So let's try to run it. It's gonna build it and run it. Let's wait for a few more seconds. It's saying that the database open2 does not exist, which is obvious because we just created the database instance. So there's two ways by which you can accomplish this. The first thing I would do is that I would go to my Postgres. There's a special thing in Envase called actions. So it's specific to a particular app that you're running. For example, in Postgres, you can see you can connect to the Postgres using a PSQL instance. PSQL instance is nothing but a command line way of interacting with your Postgres database. Here I can see all the list of databases that I have by just using the command /l. Here I can see there is nothing called open to do. I can create a database called create database, and then maybe open to do, something like that. This would work, but no one wants to do things from the command line, right? I want a UI from which I can create databases, view all my tables and things like that, right? So if you are from my era where we used to use MySQL, we would have something like pgAdmin, where you would connect to MySQL database and manipulate the database, create tables, and it's a great user experience, right? Or a developer experience. So similarly in Envase, you can find another beautiful app called pgAdmin. So pgAdmin is a way, or again something very similar to phpMyAdmin, where you can connect to a Postgres database, view all its like databases, tables, manipulate them. So let me click on create. Now it's gonna ask me a name for my pgAdmin. I'm gonna call it as my pgAdmin. Yeah, it's a creative name. You can change whatever you want. So this website is gonna be available at 8080 port. You can change it into any port you want, but time being, let me keep it as the default port it's suggesting. Now I'm gonna give a username and password to secure my pgAdmin from others. So I can use this username password combo to log in into pgAdmin. So I'm gonna call it as me at gmail.com as a default user, and the password is gonna keep it as simple as just test, right? Now I'm gonna choose a version. So I'm gonna choose a latest version of the pgAdmin. Again, you can use this link to see all the possible versions that you can use. Let me click on create. It's going to create a pgAdmin for me, which is available right away. So if you guys see that it's going to get created very quickly, it's because I already created it. So all the Docker images are already made local, but if it's not there, it's going to go to Docker Hub and pull it up. Now let me just try to run pgAdmin and see the logs of it. Now we can see logs that it's kind of configuring the server. And the another best thing about Envase is that it automatically knows that whenever one of your app is ready, like for example, whenever pgAdmin is ready, it's gonna pull up a browser with pgAdmin ready. That's like gonna help you avoid remember which port you ran pgAdmin, things like that, right? So, or what you can do is that if that doesn't happen, like if you see like it took too much time for it to get ready and it didn't open in the browser, you can go over here and click on open pgAdmin UI. It's gonna bring up that in your browser. Now I'm gonna use the password combo that I username password combo that I set while creating this app. So use test. So let's log in. So once I log in the servers, I'm gonna first of all add a new server, right? In the server, I'm gonna give the connection, the host. As I said, the rule of the thumb is that you need to use the app name or the container name to connect to a particular app. So I'm using my Postgres, just the name of the the Postgres app I created. So let's do that. The port is the same, and the username is gonna be Postgres, and the password is gonna be test. I'm gonna save the password, save this, and that should open the database. You can see this database is actually running in a container. I'm connecting to this particular container and seeing all the database that it has and all the tables it has. Now I'm going to create a new table called a database called open to do, and the one is going to be Postgres. Let's click save. So now I have open to do. If I go to schemas and then tables, there are absolutely no tables. Now if I go over to the terminal that I had my application, now if I'm gonna run main go, yep, our application is running right away at 8000. So I can hit this from Postman. So I'm gonna open Postman. I have already saved all the endpoints in Postman, so it's easy for us to try out the app. So let Postman open. So I can try to get some to-dos. It gives empty. Let's see what happens. So it says that there is some error. They're saying that there is no relation called to-dos because obviously we didn't create a table called to-dos. So what I can right now do is that I want to run migrations or a script which creates a table, right? So what I can do is I can create click on this to create a new tab of my Golang. So now I have an independent terminal where I can run a migration. So I'm gonna go into src folder, going to open to do, then I'm gonna run my migrations. So I'm gonna run cmd/migrate up. So now this is gonna run all the migrations. No, the migrations are done. Now if I go to the pgAdmin console and just refresh the tables, now you can see there's a table called to-dos. You can see what are the columns it has. You can manipulate this right from pgAdmin if you wish, right? So now let me go back to Postman, try to hit it, and let's see if there are any errors in our terminal. Nope, there was no error as I can see. Now let's try to create a new to-do, right? Like I'm creating a to-do called maybe by x, done is false. Let's send it. The response code is 201, which means it should have been created. Now let me hit to get the to-dos. Now we can see the to-dos are there. I can confirm this that it is stored in the database by going back to the pgAdmin and viewing all the rows that it has, and you can see that it got updated, right? So that's how you can use Envase to run an application that was written in Golang without installing Go, without installing Postgres, without installing any tools to to view and manipulate it on Postgres, right? So this is just a tip of an iceberg, right? Like if you see, this is a terminal with infinite possibilities. You can do whatever you want in this terminal. Install things that you want, run things you want. It's a separate container. I can prove you that by going to my terminal. I can do docker ps. You can see there are 3 containers that are running, which are our containers, but all these containers are managed by Envase. There is no need for you to break your head to understand like what Docker image should I use, what environment variables I need to use to run this container, how do I connect these multiple containers so that each of them can talk to each other. No, all of those are managed by Envase, right? So there are multiple things that you can do. So you can even run just a simple command and check whether the output of just that command by there is no need for you to open up a full terminal all the time. You can just use an option called run command to run a particular command in a container, and there are specific options for depending on a particular app that you run, right? So there are right now there is around 20 or 15 applications. I'm still working on the more applications to be added to Envase. So yep, so this is what Envase is all about. Probably in another video I will share maybe running a different application, connecting multiple applications together within a Docker container without even thinking about in terms of Docker or container. So that's the whole idea of Envase. So Envase tries to abstract away Docker and containers and just give you an idea of apps. So you developers just think about apps, not in terms of container, how to set up a container, how to run a container, right? So I hope this was, yeah, like intriguing. I would love to hear your feedbacks, what you think about it, or anything that I can add to make it even more, better. Feel free to try it out. It's open source in GPL license, and I'll probably uh, put the repo URL in the description. Feel free to raise issues or PRs if you have anything good to share. So, yep, hope that was useful. Until then, see you guys. Bye.